getting it, fella. Look here.
Stand by.
One for C-Lab, two for Jar Ego, three for Wolverine to round out the trio. In this episode, everybody dies.
Broadcasting live from inside the Power Band, this is The Blah. In this episode, everybody dies. I'm your host, Kevin, along with my super companions, Jarhead and a Jarhigo.
Jarhead and a Jar Binks ego.
You have to knock that back about 3.7%.
And, of course, Chad Lab.
Yo, did I send you guys the Jar Jar Destroyer? There was like a meme about a dude seeing his psych, and he's like, the Jar Jar Destroyer is not a real thing. And then it's like a picture of a Lego Jar Jar Binks head in the shape of a Star Destroyer. And it's quite possibly one of the best things ever.
A Lego, a Jar Jar Binks head
let me see if I can find
shaped
it.
like, it's all right, dude. We live in derailment. A Jar Jar Binks head in the shape of a Star Destroyer.
Yeah. Here it is.
Oh, instantaneous.
The giant floppy ears.
I mean, it's pretty good, right?
That's fucking great, dude. That is excellent, man. Good. Jar Jar Destroyer. Yusa worst nightmare. Love it.
Anyways, hey guys, how are you?
Yeah, good.
Dude, this cost you nothing to not post it, and yet you did. That's great. Oh, everybody's so witty. I feel pretty and witty and gay.
Saw the new Wonka movie. You guys see that yet?
I started watching it,
No.
and I got a hearty dose of
Chlamydia?
Tim
Go on.
No. Tim Charlemagne's young dude walk, and I was like,
I couldn't do it.
It wasn't grabbing me. It was like super musical, man. Like I like musicals. I've done plenty of them, but it was super musical, and I was like, I don't think I can swallow this right now. So I just turned it off. No guff really. I just was like, I don't really feel like doing this right now.
Right on. Yeah, it was interesting. It was reasonably close to the vibe of old school. Obviously, it's never going to come close to Wilder, but it was interesting.
It's no Dune, that's for sure.
That is for sure.
You know what? I didn't even finish the damn intro. We got all hung up on that Jar Jar thing.
Here we are.
Here we are. Welcome to the show, everybody. As I said, I'm Kevin, and with me, as always, is Jarhead and a Jarhigo and Chad Lab. And this week, we're discussing the 2023 PG-13 science fiction possible masterpiece, The Creator, by Gareth Edwards, starring Lil Zell and Allison Janney and a bunch of people we don't know. Let's get into it. High level.
Been on my radar for a while. I think, like you guys, was kind of holding off on it until we had to do it. You know, like it's right in our wheelhouse.
We had to do it. I mean,
Had to be done. And
done.
unlike a Rebel Moon, it was a pretty decent showing. You know, like it's, I don't know. I enjoyed it. It scratched a lot of sci-fi itches. It definitely had a bunch of holes in it, but like it's forgivable, and you can kind of, suspension of disbelief stuff, and I just enjoy a bit of the world building-y stuff, and bask in the story. But I think it was worth a watch. It was 50 times better than Rebel Moon. I still haven't seen the second part of Rebel Moon, but
I haven't either.
I dug it.
Nor have I.
Okay. Benoit, would you like to go next?
So I've been putting this off for a long time because, frankly, based on the trailers, it just kind of seemed, I don't know, cliched. Like, I don't know, just like the trailers gave me a really bad vibe. And I was very pleasantly surprised. It was much better than I anticipated. So if that was their plan with the trailer, it worked. Yeah, some really good acting. Story was, like the pacing was very engaging. Story was decent. Yes, there were some. I feel like there was some cool tech, but there was also a lot of like, we went with the least practical thing over the cool looking thing kind of stuff, where you're like, yeah, that is cool, but God, it's fucking stupid.
Yeah.
For instance, giant tanks rolling through the jungle and little robot dudes that are bombs that run in, and a giant
the trash can robot.
I like
a
those,
giant floating thing in the sky with like a targeting laser on it or whatever. Like, I don't know, like they're all like cool, but like if I was a kid, I'd be like, yeah. But like as an adult, I'm like, all right, I get why they did this, because it's like impressive and cool, but it's also stupid. It doesn't make any sense. But yeah, I'll leave it there.
That's a good example of like some of the weird holes. Like some of the holes are not deal breakers. They're just kind of like, okay, you did that. Okay, right on. That's weird.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I didn't get hung up on any of it. I was just like noted,
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't enough to drag me away from yes. It wasn't enough to drag me out of it.
No,
I am noting
same.
these discrepancies in my brain.
Okay. Well, I want to talk about all these holes first, but we're still in the middle of the high level, and
We're still high 11.
We can get there.
now
Man.
I'm feeling very much like Adrian Monk at the moment. So I don't know what
Go
to
right
do.
back to it. Do your high lev. That was
Okay,
part
my
of my
high
high lev.
All right. Well, my high level is that I remember seeing the ad for this. I didn't read any press about it or anything like that. And I saw that John David Washington was in it, and I was like, okay. And what I saw in the trailer visually was very cool. I was like, all right. But I remember, like, I don't know, is like the trailer's like portraying this like AI thing, and I kind of did this eye roll, and I was like, I don't know, maybe, blah, blah, blah. And then a couple of weeks ago, I was like, oh yeah, there's that movie, man, and I watched it, and I really liked Rogue One a lot, and Godzilla was awful damn good too, and Gareth Edwards, I think that guy's got something going on that's very cool. So I was like, well, I'm gonna watch it, and I thought it was great. I really thought there was great themes and great story at the heart of it, which I think is like really what makes science fiction movies awesome. And that I really liked it a lot. I didn't really like. I wasn't bothered by a lot of like holes or whatever. Like none of that really bothered me. I thought it was solid. I thought it was a great sort of mirror and commentary about humanity, and I really liked it a lot, man. And started watching it again this afternoon, and was actually bummed out that I didn't get a chance to finish watching it, because the first watch I had was very fragmented, and when I watched it the other day, I really got a full immersion, and I realized how much stuff I had actually missed the first go round, and I really liked it a lot, and I was like, wow, there's a lot going on here, I think, and then I took a perusal through the internet, or the interwebs, as Chad would say, specifically on YouTube, and I think that, and I'll just kind of keep rolling on this. I like a lot of the titles in the reviews were just like, this should have been great. It wasn't great.
Yeah.
It kind of sucked. Like, and I kind of was like, I really think this is one of those things like where, when you go on Amazon and you see the reviews are either all 5 stars and all 1 stars, it's like people either get it or they don't get it. And I feel like people didn't get it, man, and I feel like we've been in this space before. And I think that this is one of those films that occupies that space. So yeah, I think there's a lot of cool things going on here. I definitely want to hear about these holes that you guys are talking about. Like what bothered you about the movie?
But just to respond a little bit to what you're saying
Chad?
before we transition,
Please.
like, I feel like,
Yes.
the reviews that are like, "They made everything," is like, that fits like the Rebel Moon kind of thing,
Totally. Yeah.
I don't really think it fits this. And like, this is not like,
I don't either.
obviously this is not a Blade Runner, but like, you know what else was fucking hated at the time and didn't make money? Blade Runner. You know what I mean? Like,
Blade Runner. Totally.
so like there's plenty of, there's plenty of examples of absolute classics that didn't do well and weren't received publicly well. I don't think this will climb into the echelon of like, you know, legendary movies, but like for a sci-fi head, it's pretty fucking solid in terms of like it's enjoyable and it, you know, they did a pretty decent job. I mean, like the holes, like they're little holes, like what Benny said, and then for me, like the big holes, which I think it's fine to just leave, is like everyone's a robot. Like all the cops are robots, but they don't know where you are because they can't communicate with each other via like radio frequencies or like
built-in.
All of the cops are robots,
yeah.
but no one knows what the camera feeds are showing. You know, like all the super obvious shit, like kind of falls apart when everything is a networked AI robot, you know? Like I was at the fucking supermarket the other day and I took a shopping cart full of groceries from store A into store B to buy 2 extra items. And store A's camera called an attendant over and was like, hey, there's stuff in this guy's shopping cart. Check that it's not from our store. So like if a fucking camera in a supermarket can figure out whether I have shit in my shopping cart, I think a whole bunch of fucking AI cops can network their brains together. And do you know what I mean? Like, so it's like really big kind of conceptual holes, but like you can suspend that disbelief because it's like in this universe that isn't a thing, but it just kind of like doesn't compute or click with my understanding of kind of, you know, everyone
Technology.
having a camera, everyone having networked audio video stuff, you know?
Yeah. I'm not sure whether they needed a giant helicarrier to like track where like the AI sympathetics were setting up bases and shit. Like, you know, that's just I mean, like that's one of those things where it's like, oh yeah, I get it. It looks cool, but
it's a visual trope.
It's stupid.
Whatever,
yeah,
it's
it
a
cool,
MacGuffin.
It's stupid.
It's the MacGuffin they have to go blow up. You know, like yeah, totally.
Are you talking about Nomad, Ben?
Yeah.
Yes, I'm talking about Nomad.
And like it was cool. The targets on the blue laser targeting stuff was super gimmicky, but I kind of liked the visual of it. You know, it made it really easy to understand visually for people, but it's kind of silly.
It was visually cool and visually striking, but you know, again, I was just like, yeah, we do a better job of this with like satellites and fucking ballistic missiles. Like why why do we have to have like a big giant platform in the sky to do this? Like it just seems dumb. Other than looking cool, you know.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
And then other than being a MacGuffin where like,
right,
you know,
right.
You might as well be the Death Star, you know, like
yeah.
So you're saying like instead of like so you're saying it's like redundant, right? Like we already can basically do that. So why bother?
We can do it better
massive,
without a orbital platform.
super
we can do it
expensive
better
space platform. Yeah, right. Interesting. Well, I mean, I guess from like a maneuverability standpoint, you know, if the thing's in space, like you can kind of get it anywhere on the planet relatively quicker. Maybe, I don't know, man. I
need
never
a dozen
thought
of them to cover all of the territory. They keep it over Southeast Asia because that's where all the AIs are. Like, okay, but more than one thing. Like, it's just like it's. I guess like at the end of the day, it's like. The movie is a vehicle to tell a story about whether it's, you know, worth killing a 6-year-old to quote unquote save the human world. And then John David Washington's like, no, I now, you know, have sympathy for the AI. And all the rest of it is just like a mechanism to tell that story. So like through that lens, like, okay, fine. But like more than one thing happens at a time. So like what happens when there's 2 rebel people shooting up 2 different locations? Like now what's Nomad gonna do? You know, like I don't know. It's just kind of funny.
Dude, that was the most neck bearded rant I think you've ever done.
I got a bit of a neck beard going.
I know, I see that. That's great, man. Nice neck beardy rant. Ben, yours did not sound like a neck beard rant at all.
Okay,
thank you.
Good.
I mean, like the whole point of the movie being about AIs is also a bit of a logical hole where it's like, you know, she does the Lilu Dallas learning English in 5 seconds thing in the car, and like these AIs would be so hyper intelligent that they would kick the living shit out of us in about an hour. You know what I mean? Like they would have all of the world's knowledge in fucking like an hour. So
maybe you don't really know. I don't know, man. You don't really know that. You know what I mean? You really don't.
Right. Yeah.
No, I'm just saying you don't really know that. I mean, you're assuming that. You know what I mean? Like you don't know how they're built in this world. You know what I mean? Like
I guess
they Well, I mean, look, dude, the kid was created in an like an embryonic fashion, which I completely missed the first go round. Obviously, I saw it the second time, and it could have been, or they could be programmed to learn at a sort of human pace for all you know. I mean, you know what I mean? Like,
Sure.
you can't say for sure. You know what I mean? And I think that, I mean, I hate when you do this because I never even fucking thought of any of these things, man. I was like,
I know that you're like, this movie sucks.
and now I'm like, and now all I can think about is why can't they communicate via radios in their heads when they're robots?
It just makes sense. We all have phones.
I guess, but like for what? I know we're gonna belabor this too hard, but what? So you're saying that like when the like I really like that Bobcat thing that one soldier had. Like she like drives out of the helicarrier.
Literally a Bobcat.
Literally a Bobcat. Yeah. It was a Positrack Bobcat.
Well, I mean, hey, when you're trying to budget down on money on a movie, dude, it's like take a Bobcat and strap some plastic shit to it and paint it black, dude. And they did. And she at one point fires
Ripley's loader. It was not.
No.
And she fires it. She fires those rockets right as the police show up. So what are you saying? That like they should have known that those missiles were coming or the rockets were coming? Or what?
I mean,
what do you mean?
You make a good example because like the cops pull up and 4 fucking rockets shoot out of it. I mean, they've got fucking robot eyes, don't they? Like, I mean, you don't need a radar to see 4 fucking, bottle rockets.
I was a little I was a little surprised by that. Yeah, I was a little surprised by that, I guess.
I don't know. I guess like,
okay,
another
all right,
example,
yeah, sure.
another way to shit on your movie, Kev, is like they're at the board they're at the border and it's like, where's the guy? Where's the guy? They just push a fucking button and the border closes, like I know the kid can like rub the fucking soft spot on a fucking little orb that opens the gate and shit, but like, I don't know. Like I guess the point I'm making here
at the spaceport,
any of them, any port, any door they went through, any fucking thing.
Okay.
The point I think I'm getting at is like none of it bothers me because I'm putting this world onto that world, and I think your point of like that world is different. It's similar enough where I put my own understanding of kind of our world onto it, and I think it's reasonable to just let that go. And I think that's kind of where I end up. It's like, who gives a shit? I'm going to enjoy this for what it is. To quote a legendary Jedi, Benny, like just enjoy it for what it is, and based on that, you're like, whatever, because it's a good story, But like, there's you can pick holes in it if you want to, and I think that's what all the people on YouTube are doing. So
maybe,
maybe to kind of tie that piece up. But that's kind of where my
no, that's good. I was really more just curious more than anything. I didn't really pay attention to any of that. I kind of like, I don't know, like the Nomad thing. I kind of got like a more of like for Nomad, because I think this is worth saying. Like it had more of like it was like an intimidation thing as well. Like that giant goddamn blue beam, dude. Like if I was thinking about that, I was like, if I was living there and watching that fucking beam all the time, I would have anxiety constantly.
Sure, man.
Like is that thing tracking me? Yeah, dude. Like shit. So like that's sort of what it was for me. And then but then to both of your point, like later on in the film when we're on Nomad, I was like, why is this thing so fucking big?
Because it is a farm, Kev.
You know what I mean? Like, I guess it just seems unnecessarily gigantic, dude. It's like, I thought the thing was like, when I first saw the movie, I was like, oh, that's like some kind of big plane or something. And then I was like, oh no, it's a space station so massive that you could very easily see it from the ground. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It just seemed a little unnecessarily gargantuan.
And then, but then in the final act, it didn't seem like it was actually that gigantic in scale.
It didn't.
It was both. Yeah. So, it would need to be ultra low orbit to be that big. In the sky.
Right. I was going to say, like, it almost didn't seem like it was actually in orbit. It seemed like it was just sort of like, in the, stratosphere, like just above the clouds or whatever, like not like actually all the way out into space, which would be weird because how would it fly? But whatever.
Exactly.
Again, these are all questions I kept asking myself throughout watching it, but it was good enough. The acting was good enough. The story was good enough. The pacing was good enough that it kept me engaged and not like getting hung up on that shit. I'm just thinking about it all now because we're talking about it. But
yeah,
and
it's that. But I think you're right. It did keep you connected enough to just be like, well, that's it. You think about it, you're like, whatever. I'm just gonna keep watching because this is fun or this is good or whatever.
Yeah, 100%, man.
And I'll just reiterate. I feel like they'd made a lot of those choices based on like, well, it just looks cool,
Yeah.
we need some cool looking shit in this movie, so we'll just do this. We know it's stupid, but whatever, we'll just do it because it looks cool.
Yeah. Well, we've all seen the like Jason Bourne shit where in order to show how thoroughly surveyed everybody is, it's like a whole bunch of dudes blooping in a dark room with a bunch of screens. I'm like, that's not super interesting. Like a giant thing flying in the air with fucking laser pointers, that's interesting. So
yes, it's very interesting. I mean, we could go back and watch all the Star Wars movies and probably make like almost identical arguments about a lot of the stuff in those movies, but like I was a kid when I first saw that, so I didn't even question it, whereas like I'm an adult watching this, so I'm like, oh, that's kind of dumb. Yeah.
And maybe just to tack on to that though, like when you watch Star Wars as a kid, it's the first time you've ever been blown away visually. Now we've got like every 10 minutes there's a new visual blow away crazy ass movie. So you're just like,
dude,
you pick apart the other stuff,
It's worse than that, man. I go on my Instagram feed, dude, and then there's like some guy that's a VFX artist is making weird creatures and putting them in like the natural environment. It's like, what the fuck, man?
Yeah, you see, it's so run of the mill now that it's not as captivating for sure. Yeah.
No, it's not. I kind of feel sorry for everybody that's and I feel sorry for everybody that's younger now because they don't like. We had to wait. You know what I mean? Like it's like Star Wars came out, and then it's like waiting for Empire. You know what I mean? Like we had to wait like years for that payoff,
you couldn't watch it again. All you could do was like think about it.
That's it.
Yeah, exactly.
You might catch a photo of it in a Fangoria or something.
That was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
So
exactly.
Cool.
Some kind of screen grab from like, in a Fango, dude.
Totally. I just remember seeing like Nintendo Power Magazine or something, and you'd like look at an image and it would be the worst bullshit graphics. You're like, look at those fucking graphics. And you'd be so hyped for whatever it was. You'd be so hyped for it.
Totally.
And that hype, that juice from that hype would carry you for years. Man. Literally.
Because, like, I'm just looking at the IMDb here and, like, just an image of the robot, with an AK, and he's got that kind of weird, it's kind of Giger alien-esque head on the front of it, with, like, the little mandibles and stuff.
Like a
it's just a really cool design, man. Like, really...
Very cool.
Eye-catching kind of design, but it's just so throwaway because you just see it all the time. You're just like, oh yeah, another fucking robot and a fucking movie. It's sci-fi, my favorite genre ever, but I'm so bored with it. It's just like, I don't know, oversaturated, and it takes away from the magic that was created here, I think, because there was a lot, like even the heads with the fucking holes in the side stuff was like really interesting visually,
It was very much so, and I somehow I was able to kind of suspend all of that like oversaturation and all of that stuff, and I really got into it, man. And I really I realized in that first fragmented watch that I was like, there's something cool here, man. Like this is more than just like, oh hey, we've got a crappy script and we put a bunch of computer generated graphics together and like maybe this will be our next $1 billion franchise. Like and then as I read today, I realize that like this is like an independent movie. Like this is an original movie that he wrote, right? And it's got elements of all of his favorite movies, and it's right there on the screen. It's Blade Runner and Akira, and I don't know what the other one was, Star Wars maybe, but it's an original movie and it's a standalone movie, and like like I saw a bunch of interviews and things where people were saying like this sort of thing just doesn't happen anymore. Like where you go in and you get an original movie made. And we're not talking about an indie movie. Like those are cheap, like an indie budget is like $5 million. This is an $80 million movie. right, but it looks like a $200 million
It does,
movie. And
yeah.
a lot of people were blown away by that, and including myself. So I think it's important to or I wanted to take a second and point that out, because I think that is important. Like, somehow in this sewer of movies and TV and all of this shit that we have now, like, we've gotten this one original sort of movie idea made. And yeah, it's an homage to, other ideas, or he's taken those ideas and made his own vision out of that, which I think is fine. And I think that's cool. And that's sort of what artistic things and creativity are all about. And I think the end result is something cool. And I realized that there was something cool, and there was a lot of depth to this as well. This wasn't just it wasn't just VFX masturbation and a crappy script, hoping like, oh, hey, we'll make that $1 billion. Like, there's definitely something deeper here. And I think that's cool. And I'm
which it's sassy to say, but VFX masturbation in a crappy script for me was how I took Rebel Moon, which is another attempt like this. And they're night and day.
Yeah, I agree.
This was half the budget, literally half the budget of Rebel Moon. And it's
totally
way better.
And I didn't, as a quick aside, I did not mention to either of you. I listened to Snyder was on Rogan, man, and they talked a lot about Rebel Moon. That was an interesting to listen to him talk about that. We can talk about it later. Anyway,
yeah, cool.
So just kind of jumping off. Let's just jump off like the tech and stuff that we were talking about. Like, I love the design of all of these robots and the tech, like the newer ones with the human faces, and like the older ones that were all, metal and whatever. Like, I really liked it. I thought it was really cool.
I kind of got like it wasn't newer and older. I kind of got like I could afford a face one, or I can only get the base model one vibe from it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Interesting. Yeah.
But it was interesting.
That's weird, dude. I really got a these are the older models, these are the newer models kind of vibe, and then like later,
like
kind of like that, right? Yeah, I got an AI 4, you got an AI 9, like whatever. Like, I think there's one point when they finally get to I always just want to say Denzel, but I shouldn't do that. Josh was like, he jumps off the boat, then he's like hanging on underneath, and they finally get to like their spot, right? And there's a robot like teaching them about like history and spirituality. It's like all the children are around, including Alfie, you know what I mean? And in that scene in particular, I was like, oh, I just immediately was like, oh, older robot, you know what I mean?
Sure.
Like an older person, like if they were in a village, you know what I mean? Which they were for all intents and purposes. Like, you'd have the older people telling like, the young kids the stories and the ways of the world and all that kind of shit. So that's how I took those robots.
Yeah.
I don't know why,
No,
because
that makes sense.
But I mean, maybe you're right, because like the police bots were the same thing. Like, they didn't have no human faces. They were just sort of
they're just run of the mill.
Except that Middle Eastern looking guy who was lucky enough to get killed multiple times.
He was great.
That was funny. He was awesome.
The fucking Postmates delivery driver or whatever.
Yes.
Don't forget. I like that. The guy's just like, don't forget to give me a good rating. And then just fucking pops the grenade off. Like, it's pretty funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, man. They're like, the tech is cool. I definitely vibe with what Benny was saying. Like, some of the tech choices were kind of weird, but like the guns were kind of cool, and they're pew pew kind of lasers, and they weren't kind of old school bullet, projectile style weapons. And it didn't really dig too deeply into the tech, but the like memory capsule fucking thing where they could put the one dude into the other, like a re-sleeved altered carbon kind of thing, was kind of interesting.
That was cool, and that's ultimately, and I missed that the first time around, but that's ultimately what they did with the mom.
Yeah.
With Maya, you know what I mean?
Mm.
Which I thought was cool. And how they could, even with a human, they could like kind of, grab the last like 20 seconds of their life and like download it into something like that. That I thought was very interesting and cool.
Yeah. I mean, that was the draw to me for Altered Carbon, the Takeshi Kovacs stuff that, is really schlocky and annoying, but has an interesting, baseline story.
Yeah, cool concept. Yeah. Yeah, I thought that was I don't know how much that's like Altered Carbon because I've never really paid attention to it because
Yeah.
everybody said the books were pretty good, but the show was kind of meh, so I didn't
Yeah.
bother watching it.
The books are worth checking out, but they're real teenage boner fests.
Be prepared for lots of awkward sex scenes.
Yeah.
I'm
yeah.
all set with that. I'll just pass. I'll pass altogether. I'll watch Chernobyl instead.
There you go. Also a teenage boner fest. I mean,
No, not in the show, in the books.
Oh, in the books. Oh, yeah. I'll pass. Awkward sex scenes
I mean, he's not wrong.
in a book too. Like that's saying a lot. Yeah.
They're like softcore porn detective novels set in the future.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like,
Written by a 13-year-old.
Ugh. Yuck. Oh. To your comment, Chad, they didn't dive too much into the tech. Like I think that in that lines up with like great science fiction. Like you're using like the story is not let's delve into the tech. The story is like the story. You know what I mean? So it's like I like that. And I always like wondering, hey, what's that little thing? What's that little thing? And then not knowing what it is, man. Like that's the beauty of it, dude. So I really dug that. I dug like those retrofitted like AKs, but everything was a pew pew laser. I was loving the pew pew lasers, man.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely loving that. Kind of a combination of like, concussive explosives and pew pew lasers was right on, man. It worked well.
Yeah, the like little missile things too. Yeah, totally.
Right? Take a little Bobcat, retrofit it, dude. There you got yourself a little army vehicle with some rockets and shit, dude.
The little spider fucking time mine kind of things.
Time spider mine. What do you mean?
Yeah,
you mean like the little suction cup
grabs
thing?
onto the back of the Bobcat driver's backpack in the helo there, and they have to they're like, take it off.
Dude, yeah.
I don't want to be that guy, but I totally just would have pushed her out of the fucking helicopter. I'd be like, sorry, dude, and just like pushed her out of the helicopter, but they all hugged her instead.
I know, but that Alice and Janney got the same thing. That's how she died.
Yeah, that was
interesting.
interesting.
In the temple. Yeah, that was really interesting. Well, because it had to do with like the kid shutting off the power, on the power, whatever.
So, like you said, there was some cool shit. They didn't really dig into it, but it's kind of okay.
Yeah, Benny, you mentioned briefly in your opening tirade that you did not like the tanks. Did I get that right?
It's just because they were like 40 times too big, or
yes.
That's just pretty much it. Small rolling cities.
Yeah, they were kind of small rolling cities, but I mean, I don't know. I kind of was like, well,
they were very Avatar-esque.
Seemed impractical, unnecessary, and it's like, I really want to do something like AT-ATs, but we can't do that. So
yeah, right.
Let's make some giant, mecha tanks. Like I don't.
The tanks didn't really bother me. I mean, they were, I guess, like
they're just enormous and stupid, like unnecessarily enormous.
Yeah.
I liked that a little monkey blew up the tank, but it was like one teeny little thing on the side of the tank, just took it right out. It was like, oh, well, that tank's done for the day.
Yeah, it was one of those suction cup mines or whatever those things were. Yeah, I don't know. They were, I guess they were a little silly. I don't know. I kind of, again, got that kind of like the same thing as Nomad, it's like that, oversized, like, very intimidating, like, the West, the Americans are very convinced that, this AI is so evil and all this sort of thing. It's a weapon, whatever, so they're pounding the ground with like heavy duty hardware, and it's, meant to intimidate. I don't know. I didn't really think about it a whole lot. I guess they were kind of overkill in a large way, like in that Avatar kind of way. Those things were crazy.
They were very Avatar, yeah.
Right? Massive dump trucks and shit. Yeah.
The American kind of overreaction stuff was pretty interesting.
Yeah.
It was very kind of like war on terrorism, Iraq, Afghanistan kind of thing, where it was like, they blew up LA, let's go fuck them up, and
yeah.
Turns out it wasn't the robots, There was some interesting kind of commentary there.
that was the one thing I really wish they had spent a little bit more time on. Was Ken Watanabe starts talking about that. He's like, "Oh, that wasn't us. It was some malfunction." Blah blah blah. And I didn't really understand that whole bit. What was he? Can you explain that a little bit better? Or?
He said it was like user error, basically. Like they blamed it on us, but it wasn't our fault. They did it.
Yeah.
Like they fucked up.
Humans fucked up.
So, yeah. Did it give any more detail than that?
Which lines up with actual history. There have been like a half a dozen near misses with nukes and shit because of similar stuff.
So many.
Like there was like a dude that put the wrong cassette into a nuclear weapons facility, and it was like he put a training cassette in, and it turned out that was like the basis for like war games and stuff. The movie is like he put the wrong cassette in, and it simulated a nuclear Armageddon, and people were like, should we push the button? You know, like there's plenty of user error in actual history. So
Yeah, totally. Wow. Interesting.
I don't know. I like that they did that with Watanabe, saying like, it wasn't us, dude. You guys are just fucking freaking out for no reason. We just want to chill over here.
Right.
But you guys are
so
just
he was
fucking
saying
shooting
he
us
was
up.
saying that it was user error, meaning the Americans did it.
Humans, yeah. Humans
Meaning people
fucked
did
it up.
Yeah, people fucked up.
People. I got you. Okay.
Someone somewhere
Yeah.
fucked up a line of code, which I think is what he said, or someone somewhere just pushed the wrong fucking button.
Line of coke and a line of
It
code.
was like the other one too. Like, didn't like some dude in Hawaii like push that emergency broadcast of like fucking a nuclear strike? Remember that from a few years ago?
Yes.
Same thing.
Yes, but at least that wasn't an actual close
At
call.
least-
It was
yeah.
just a mistake.
Yeah.
Like
was just
it
everyone
freaked people out,
freaking
but
out.
there wasn't like there have been so many incidents where literally like it was only the guy, like the dude with the codes and the key that was like,
That was like, I'm
no,
not
I
doing
don't
it.
think this is real. I'm not doing it.
Yeah, which is fucking
And that's the only
bananas,
thing that
dude.
saved everybody was like one guy
Thank
being
God.
like
Yeah, one normal
Yeah.
person.
one
Yeah.
guy just being
Yeah.
like, no, I don't think I can't do it. Yeah.
One random Russian dude one time said no. He was on a sub. It was like he was going to launch fucking 30 nukes, and he's just like, I'm not going to do it. Like, thanks, dude. Thank you for that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right? Totally.
And it turns out he was right because it wasn't
It turns out.
there wasn't actually anything happening.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, that Hawaii thing was crazy. You don't remember that, Kev? It was like a
No,
text
I don't know
message
why
went
I
out to
never-
everyone in Hawaii, and it was just like, prepare for incoming nuclear weapon. Fucking kiss
Yeah.
your butthole goodbye. And then like, everyone was like calling their family and being like, I love you, bye. And then like an hour
What?
later, they're like, yeah,
Wow.
sorry, we pushed the wrong button. It's just like, fuck you guys, man. You know?
I don't know what's more. I don't know what's more astounding that happened or that I completely missed that.
You probably didn't miss it. It was like 5 years ago. It was pre-pandemic. It's just probably washed out of your brain with all the other bullshit that's going on in the world.
Yeah, my hard drive probably just dumped it already. Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, it's sinking feeling you get every time you hear the emergency broadcast system, and then like it's like this is
Yeah,
just a
right?
test, or like yeah. So like all those people are like, oh, it's probably just a test, and they're like, wait, what?
Wait, no, sir. But you know, you get that
Say
text
what?
message, and you know some people will just like turn to their nearest neighbor and be like, "Want to have sex?" Or like the other guy's like, "I'm going to go and fucking loot that store." You know, someone else is like,
Time
"I'm
to
going to
get
call my
TV.
mom." You know,
Yeah.
an hour later, it's like they call the whole thing off.
I bet Google got jammed
Yeah, exactly.
What do you mean?
with like people trying to search
Oh.
like nuclear attack on Hawaii, like trying to figure it out, and like, and getting nothing. And it's like, I don't see anything. What the hell's going on?
I mean, if you were there, like if I was there, I would have been like, "Well, let's go sit on the beach, kids, and like have a moment."
Yeah.
Because there's nothing
Yeah.
else we can fucking do.
We're gonna see some fireworks one last time.
I didn't. This is like New England's not like a big. Obviously, it's not Tornado Alley, but like we've had tornadoes here the last couple of years. Like
Dude, it seems to be
there's
popping
one.
off.
There's
actually,
one.
in the States.
Well, there's one that came. Yeah, one that
Yeah.
came through and like really tore up quite a bit of this town and the town next to us. But like it was also like a couple of years ago, man. Like we had like the emergency broadcast system went off, and we had a tornado warning, and we don't know about that shit here. You know what I mean? Like
Unlike
out
the
in the
Great
Midwest,
Plains or something.
Right?
It's like getting a fucking
just like in the
snowstorm in
basement.
Texas. They're like, ooh.
Yeah.
exactly,
like,
dude.
like 1,000
yeah.
car pileup because
Exactly,
of adjusting.
Everybody's house, like the pipes burst and fucking got destroyed, basically, because like nobody
They're
thought to
fucked.
like,
They're properly fucked.
yeah.
Drain the water out. Yeah, we don't have like Bill and Joe and Dusty here. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, that's
running
it.
around chasing storms, dude. So, I remember like somebody was like, "Oh, you get the kids and take them into the basement." And I was just like, "All right, well, all right." I was like, "Guys, just hang out in the living room here for a minute." But it's like, I should have gotten them into the basement. Like, I had no idea. Like that thing, luckily it was just like it was some wind and it shook the house and it was like got kind of crazy for a second because that's the way that thing works, right? It just kind of blows through,
Yeah.
right?
You know that
But
because
like I
of the
should
little
have.
robots and Twister, totally. Yeah.
There you go. I should have taken the kids into the basement, man. But it was. I mean, it's
It's
like you
funny
just
though,
don't.
you're
Weird.
like,
The whole thing
it'll
is
be
weird.
okay, and then it isn't.
It's like exactly.
You've learned that lesson.
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right. Anyway,
It's pretty
I
crazy
don't
how
know.
much the tornado thing has popped off. But I think it
It is.
like
Yeah.
there was I can't remember the name of them, but there's the 2-part Animatrix animated shorts that talk about the origin of the whole kind of machines thing, where they go into the United, like one of the robots goes into the UN and blows it up. Yeah,
Totally.
And it's the opposite of this. It's like, we fucking blew you guys up because you suck. Whereas this is like, we didn't blow you guys up and you suck. Like, I kind of like that the robots here are not responsible for the problem.
Yes.
And it's an overreaction by the Americans in this case. And like, it fits. We do tend to overreact militarily. And
Totally.
I like that was thrown in there, where they're like, we just want to be free or whatever, but you guys are just coming over here, landing and fucking shooting us up and killing our cops because reasons,
Well, I think it fits too with, the other, sort of greater theme in the movie about like, what is real, what is love, like what are these things?
Maybe don't hurt me.
And I like that the movie talks about those things, and is the love for the robot or the robot loving the human, is there any fault there? Is that any better? Is one any better than the other? You know what I mean? Like they talk about like in that one flashback, she's talking about like the whole group of robots that took in the orphan children, you know what I mean? And like the military coming and like, just some of the kids getting killed and like, there's clearly like those AIs, those robots were evolved enough to the point where they were starting to bond, obviously, with these humans, man. And
your nurture.
You're right, and that's what we see, between Alfie and Joshua as well, and then ultimately his wife ends up being a robot, you know what I mean, because her body's gone and blah blah blah. So I don't know, I like that, and I think that fit in well with that. The AI, the robots were very, like, yeah, we're like you said, Chad, like we're just chilling here, like we're just peaceful. We just want to live like with the humans. You know what I mean? We want to exist and we want to live with the humans and, just do what we do. You know what I mean? Like I dug that they just were about the same basic regular things that we want. Like, when you talk to most people today, like when you look at the news and you look at the internet and it's just like, it looks like the fucking world is falling apart. Right. And it's like, but really at the end of the day, every average person just wants to go to work and like come home and make dinner and love their kids and like hang out and do bullshit like this once a week. Like that's what people want. You know what I mean? And that was sort of the same vibe that I got, you know what I mean? Was that they just want to be, like exist and coexist, and that's it. You know what I mean? And it was like they're really just forced to defend themselves more than anything, and stupid army
because
people
we're afraid of
like,
them, so we'll fucking shoot them.
Exactly, man. And the fucking army people are like, we're so fucking SWAT, dude. We gotta freaking kill everything, dude. It's like, whatever. So I liked all of that. That was a great through line through this whole thing.
Where do you guys come down on the realness of the person, the robot versus the unreal? Like the it's just programming thing was used a couple times, and then like, Joshua's buddy kind of goes native, to use his own words, and ends up hooking up with the Asian robot that gets the ice cream and stuff. Like, where do you guys end up on the whole like real versus not real piece? Like if you were in the world.
Where do I come down on what's real or whatever?
Yeah, like if we put ourselves in the movie, like Are you willing to?
Am I willing to fuck a robot? Is that what you're saying?
No, well, no. Like, are you willing for the robot to be considered real, or like less than, or not at all real? Kind of, like the movie obviously pushes you to be accepting, but it's kind of an interesting concept. So,
I think that you have to, even if you can't prove that they're conscious or that they're experiencing suffering or joy or whatever. If they're behaving as if they do, you have to treat them as if they do, right? That's sort of where I come down on that argument in general. This is probably something we're going to encounter at some point or another, but we already sort of are.
Yeah, with the LLM stuff, it's not terribly far off.
Yeah, I mean, at a certain point we have to decide like whether it's ethical or not to bring these things into being, and if they can experience suffering or whatever at our hands. So that's that's my answer, I guess.
Yeah, I tend to agree. It's awfully fraught, the whole ethical stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, to just keep like blanket going like, oh, this is programming, like at a certain point you gotta, like when they're in the when they're in like at the beginning when he's like at his job and they're in LA and they're like pulling robots out of the trash or whatever, and put them in the like meat grinder, and the one like pops back to life, and the girl's just like, holy fuck, like he's like, it's just programming, it's fine, like that's kind of a psychotic reaction to what you just saw. Like,
totally.
You should probably not ignore what you're saying. Also, I thought it was kind of funny that she was like pulling out the whole like, they're taking our gerbs. Like there's an element of like that attitude towards the robots in this movie,
Sorry, what?
Typical.
Taking what?
Taking our
They're
what?
taking our gerbs.
Oh, taking our jobs. Yeah, totally.
Oh yeah.
That wonderful sentiment.
I love that shit. Yeah, no doubt. The job that you don't want.
Just
totally,
like,
man.
Just stop it. Yeah, exactly.
I like how I haven't seen the meme, but I kind of like how it mixes the goosebumps kind of meme with the taking the job.
They're taking our gerbs.
I love me some Goosebumps memes.
Yeah, so it's just like a whole new group for that same sentiment to be aimed at, and it's just fucking stupid.
Well, it's interesting because like
these aren't real people; they don't have feelings. They're just trying to take our jobs. Yeah,
like we've done it many times in history of dehumanizing the opponent, and in this case, it's really easy to do. And yeah, like you could vie with either of them.
We're in real danger of actually doing that, and ending up in the same scenario. So
yeah. Where do you come down on it, Kev?
I don't know, man. I think I don't know. I think and after watching this, like I don't know if there were, I think it's like anything. Like if you had a like a pet, like a new cat or like a cat that started coming around, you know what I mean? Like eventually you just get used to it. You get used to each other. You know what I mean? You'd start coexisting. It's like if there were robots like that, I don't see why that wouldn't be the same thing,
I guess, but I mean, like the cat ain't gonna be fucking taken over. Like I totally understand the fear here. Like I align with Higo here, but it's scary as fuck.
Wait, you align with Higo in what? In which part?
I align with Higo with like if a thing. I mean, it's a bit of a gray area because like ChatGPT or whatever can kind of pass a Turing test, not literally, but you know what I mean. Like we're already kind of at that point of if it kind of comes off as having a reality, then you should treat it as such. Like I vibe with that, but at the same time, like the scariness of essentially a created quote unquote species that is as kind of smart as humans. It's the Neanderthal Homo sapiens thing all over again. Whereas like, people that are scared are like, we're the Neanderthals and the Homo sapiens are going to fuck us up,
As quoted in the movie. Yeah.
Yeah, she did say that in the movie. I mean,
yeah.
To take your analogy to the next level, Kev, it's like more like a tiger.
Yeah.
That you're coexisting with. And it's like, you're pretty sure it doesn't want to eat you and it doesn't show any signs of wanting to eat you, but it can.
I know, but you're making a massive assumption that it is going to be malevolent, man. You don't know that.
No, I'm not making that assumption, but I'm saying if you take the cat and make it into a tiger, then that's the threat level we're dealing with potentially with AI. You're dealing with something that
Fair. Okay.
I'm not saying it's going
I'm with you.
to, but that's why people
Yeah.
are, reacting that way to it.
Yeah. It's naive to assume that it won't. It is probabilistic. It's possible.
Okay, so yeah, all right, I'm with you, Ben. I think like my reaction to what Chad was saying after I said what I said was, we're so we've so got that fucking Skynet shit in our heads, dude. We've had it in our heads forever, dude. You know what I mean? And you can say nay or say yay or whatever, but it's there, dude. Like, we have had that outlook of that sort of thing since that movie came out in the 80s, man. Like, there is no question in my mind that in 1984, like these things, like, they color the future, man. You know what I mean? So my answer is not looking at it like taking the Skynet thing and like throwing that in the trash and being like, okay, I'm looking at it like kind of like this movie, right? Like these robots in this movie. If like these robots in this movie were around here, I think it would be just what I said. Like, eventually you'd just be like, oh, hey, this is like, Robot Joe and Robot Kev and Robot Chad. Like, eventually
I would totally be
like,
robocentric. I would have lots of robot friends if they would have
robot
me.
buddies. My best
Right,
friends
like,
are
if you could-
robots.
if,
Yeah, totally.
if you could communicate with them,
I have a
if
bunch
you
of
could,
robot friends. What are you talking about?
Yeah, right.
Not
Dude.
robophobic.
Right.
I'm robocentric.
Dude, some of my best friends are robots. Yeah, I would be too.
Did I say
It's hard not
robophobic?
to.
I meant robocentric, but anyway.
That reminds me of this funny bit from Seinfeld where Jerry's like, yeah, George, you don't really have any black friends, and really outside of us, you don't have any white friends either. So fucking funny. Oh my god. Anyway, yeah, right. Anyway, I think I think if these robots, right, like if they were able to converse and they were able to think and do things, and if these robots that we're talking about were like the ones from this film, where it's like, they just want to live and learn and grow and, do all that. It's just like, absolutely, man. I mean, it's ultimately inevitable that everybody would learn to coexist and that you would start to develop connection with those people, because that's what we're talking about. We're talking about connections, right? So ultimately, that would be unavoidable. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Which, like, we don't need to go down this rabbit hole, but, like, it's an allegory for immigration. Do you know what I mean? Like, there are people that are anti-robot in the allegory, and there are people that are like, yeah, we can integrate, and then whatever, like, there's a lot of allegories there. And we've talked about how we're all pro-immigration in the right sense, all that kind of shit before. We don't need to go down that rabbit hole, but yeah, I think the integration stuff is interesting, and
I do too. I think
like,
this is somehow different, though. But go ahead. Yeah.
But I mean, it isn't. Like, I guess like the Neanderthal Homo sapiens thing is interesting because it's like, generally, I don't know about you guys, but like I always assumed it was Homo sapiens dominated the Neanderthals and then came out as the main human species. But I think there's some more recent science that shows that there was actually a lot of interbreeding as well, as opposed to just pure domination. So like, unlike, kind of certain cross species breeding of like animals like donkeys and stuff being sterile, it seems like the science is pointing towards Homo sapien and Neanderthal interbreeding. And that's interesting because like you put that same lens on this and it's, robots being separated from humans, but now robots and humans can breed a la Blade Runner 2049. Like, and then there is that integration stuff that you're talking about. And that's an interesting space. And so the fear of the robots taking over is one thing, and then the kind of commingling of the species is kind of maybe the more optimistic version of it, and that would be interesting.
Right,
cool.
which is like another sort of which is another fear of like those people that are worried about the other, is that like they're going to take over by like, by interbreeding and like,
yeah, yeah,
like,
which is another thing
like,
for sure.
You're not going to have any pure people anymore. Everybody's going to be like a happy.
Oh, you just look back at all the eugenics stuff, and there's definitely a history of it. But when you think about it from an evolutionary point of view, like the broadening of the gene pool is the most healthy thing for a species, even if it may not be something that the culture agrees with or whatever. There's a whole lot of like super deep, super meta shit. And so it's an interesting area, I guess.
Well, that's what makes the movie great, is that there is all of this stuff and it makes you think about that stuff. And I think at its core, as I've said before, and we all seem to agree, is that, that's what great science fiction is supposed to do, man. You know what I mean? It's supposed to mirror everything back at you and make you think, really.
Yeah.
And so in that sense, this movie is spot on, man.
Yeah.
Really, really, really spot on. And I think that just to your Blade Runner comment, like the difference between those robots and these robots is that those robots are like bioorganic. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you could fully integrate. I mean, it's like, when they're talking about the science of those robots in the two Blade Runner movies, it's all like DNA and mitochondrias and all of that kind of thing. This is purely like circuits. You know what I mean? But what I think is cool that also exists here is energy and consciousness. I'm not just talking about like literal electric energy, but like energy and consciousness and connection. I mean, like connection between people is energy. You know what I mean? And like in the very beginning, Joshua says like, oh, it's his programming. But as the time goes on and he spends the time with the child, it's just unavoidable. Like, one of the characters says that she programmed the love of the child for Joshua into the kid, right? So in that sense, it's like, okay, it's programming. Ha, ha, ha. But it absolutely is unavoidable that he is going to that kid is connecting with him. He is going to connect with that kid. And then by the end of the movie, I mean, it's like tears and they love each other and please don't go. And it's like, it's awesome, man. You know what I mean? It's fantastic. Like that energy and that connection is there. And like, I think that was what I really thought was cool about these robots, and you could see that even in, the ones that just looked like metal robots with no human faces,
The one that doesn't run into the house full of kids and gets blown up. Like there's empathy.
Yes, exactly. That's a great example. Or like, again, like what I called the older robots sitting around, talking to all the children. Like you can hear from like the inflection in the voice, or like when she's telling the story about the robots, dying to protect the human children in the orphanage. Like, I mean, that's, that.
Yeah, it ties back to, paraphrasing Benny, it ties back to if something is, acting or showing that it is sentient, then it should be treated as such, So yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Benny, was there anything
totally Was there anything what?
Oh, is there anything you wanted to bring up that you got steamrolled? So it sounds like you might, be going in the same direction.
I can hold some of that stuff back. I just had a random thought because I was looking at the entire time I was watching the movie. His buddy, Joshua's buddy Drew. I was like, this dude looks familiar. Like he looks familiar. And turns out it's Sturgill Simpson, the country singer, which I wasn't expecting.
Oh, wow.
And now I know. But looking at him, he looks like fucking almost exactly like a young Jonathan Banks, from Breaking Bad.
Oh yeah,
dude, he definitely looks like Jonathan
man.
Banks.
And that's what it was. I was like, this guy reminds me of somebody. Like, who the fuck?
Dude, he could totally play. No, he could totally play a young
brain
Mike.
fart there, but
I like it.
Yeah, absolutely.
A young Mike Ehrmantraut.
Man, I really need to watch that.
He looks like just like him.
It sounds
fucking crazy.
Really does,
I liked him in this, man. I liked that. I liked the bit where he was like, gives John David the ring and is like, "Don't go native," and then later he goes native. I like the subtle reality of you being a soldier stuck in a place for so long that your kind of boundaries or your perception shift. I suppose we talked about that a bit with the spy game and stuff.
Well, I think that kind of goes right in hand with what I just said. You know what I mean? Like like he's the one that sent him on the mission and didn't tell him that she was Nirmata and all of that kind of thing. And then he meets up with him again and it's like his girlfriend is a robot and he's calling her babe.
And he's like gutted when she dies, which, is plausible and kind of heartbreaking. Yeah.
Yeah, it was, dude.
Yeah.
I was getting choked up at the end. I mean, not just because I have a daughter and I have kids, but it's like, the little girls. Again, I'm not referring to her as a robot. I'm referring to her as a little girl because she's got personality and intelligence and all of that sort of thing. And she's on the other side of the airlock on the escape pod, dude, and she's screaming and crying, dude. It's heartbreaking, man. It's
Yeah.
that's a good thing that the movie was able to do that. But interesting that you're bringing that up. Like again,
The connections
sort
are
of
totally plausible. Like
100%, man.
the love is plausible.
Speaking of Kami, which is Drew's robot girlfriend, total nod to Cyberpunk 2077 going on there with like a sort of like missing patch of like skin in her, like there's sort of like it goes like across the bridge of her nose and like down under her eyes, just like a like a metal patch in her face, like just a very thin sort of line of like her exposed under skeleton sort of a thing. That's like almost verbatim one of like the cybernetic sort of face implants you could choose for like your character, and that showed up in like some of the legacy.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's interesting, man. Like I think like one of my favorite things in this film, which is like as you said, lifted from Cyberpunk, is that like super thin line panel kind of element to some of the faces and stuff. Like I really, really, really liked that. And kind of it's got Ghost in the Shell-ish as well, and whatnot.
Like the face is just kind of floating there, Chad. Is that what you mean?
Well, it's like it could be like a totally normal looking human, if you looking straight on, but they just have like this line that shows there is a panel, but there isn't necessarily like a huge gap. And then Kami had like that little thing, like you said, on the bridge of her nose that accentuates it a little bit more. But even Alfie has like a little kind of rectangle at her cheek that's in front of the lack of neck, just these little teeny little panel lines that I thought were almost like a car panel line, like a really thin little fine line. And it just is the coolest looking fucking thing.
Yeah. And all the Sims had that one like patch of like scalp in the back that was like, like right above all the cybernetic shit. And like, that was like sort of disconnected from the rest.
It's like a brain pan kind of thing on the back of the head for Alfie, for example. Like there's like the brain section, and then there's like the kind of top of the neck in the back section, and then there's the robot stuff. Yeah, totally.
You know what it was like in line with that? I thought that was cool too. Is that like even like the farmer, that in the beginning, like he's dirty and he's got long, dirty hair, and like you know what I mean. He's still a simulant. Like I dug that. Like that. Some of them had long hair. Like clearly, their hair grows and the kid eats ice cream and like.
Yeah, it's interesting. There's a lot of like.
I don't know.
It's kind of wishy-washy, but like I'm totally fine with it. Like not like it doesn't need to be explained.
Yeah, it's totally. Yeah, I'm with you 100% on that. Yeah,
because it definitely got some Ex Machina kind of vibes too. Like I really liked the way that she was handled in Ex Machina, where like she's like a super cute Scandahuvian girl, but she's also a robot. Like and she's like, I have funny feelings in my loin. You're kind of into her, but she's a robot. You're just like, I shouldn't feel this way about this girl. Like
that's another evil AI movie.
But a great one.
But it's like I think that's the point of this one is this is not an evil AI movie. This is a good AI movie. The AI are good, and we're evil, which I like. I like that a lot.
Yeah, and maybe that's why people didn't get it or like it, is because it showcased like how shitty we are.
Like, here's a movie about how fucking shitty we are.
I don't get why people didn't get it. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. Either I could say like, well, you liked it or you didn't like it. That's one thing, but it's not like it was hard to follow. It was pretty straightforward, in my humble opinion.
No, I think you're right. I don't think it's hard to follow at all. But
both sides are sympathetic, though.
There's a couple, and they are in a weird way. But there's also some threads go a little bit deeper here that I guess some people could have missed. Ben, I don't know, because like. I started watching 5 minutes of this review from this girl on the internet on YouTube.
Dummies.
she, she's like really well spoken, right? So immediately I was like, okay, and then she's just like, oh, and it's just like we've seen these tropes before, we've seen these tropes, and I was like, dude, this is not Rebel Moon, man. You know what I mean? Like this is something totally different, so like, you're clearly not getting it, man, and it's like I said in that Gareth Edwards interview that I saw, he was just like, I don't know, I just took elements from my favorite movies, Akira and whatever, and Blade
Apocalypse
Runner
Now.
and Star Wars. Yeah, exactly. Apocalypse Now, that was it. Apocalypse Now, Blade Runner, and Akira. And he's like, I took elements from those movies and I wrote a movie. It's like, okay, great. This is what people do, man. You know what I mean? So,
but he wasn't reusing the tropes. He was using that as like,
thank you,
aesthetic inspiration to tell the story. The story was separate from the tropes, whereas like a Rebel Moon was just a fucking bag of tropes.
Right, exactly. Finished what I was going to say. Thank you.
If your criticism it's not particularly original, then fine.
Totally fine.
I can get down with that, but I think that the sum is greater than the parts here, and that,
definitely.
These are all bits and pieces to tell the story, as you've both astutely said, and it's not, of course, like there have been a million movies about AI, and all the questions raised in this movie have been raised in other forms, including Blade Runner. So it's not, is it the best of all those? No. Is it particularly original? No. But I absolutely applaud creating new IP, and absolutely like compared to Rebel Moon, like hitting it out of the fucking park.
Totally.
It's not perfect, but it's very good.
Certainly a double or a triple. Like it's a fucking solid one.
So
I would probably watch another movie in this world, like I would watch a sequel or a prequel or whatever.
Definitely.
It's and I mean, it's really well crafted in terms of it being a film itself, like the cinematography, the shots, the choice of the shots, the music is excellent. Hans Zimmer, of course.
Music is great.
God, right? It's so good, man. So, like you said, Ben, it's greater than the sum of its parts. All these things are used to tell the story. And it's like, it's gorgeous. It's absolutely gorgeous to watch. You know what I mean? And the music is excellent, dude. And of course, the performances are top notch, dude. So
and from some like great legacy actors to people that I've never really seen in movies.
Oh my God.
Like there's a lot of people that like this like seems like to be their only credit, and they were fucking incredible.
Yeah, they were.
Yeah.
And you got like hard hitters like Allison Janney, dude. Like she's been in everything, man. She is
She was so good.
Fantastic.
She's really good.
Great, ruthless. I really like the general too. Like I'd never seen that guy before, and I was like, this guy's great.
Yeah,
dude,
man.
He's one of those ones, Ralph Ineson. Yeah, I've never seen him before, and he was fucking great.
That dude smoked like 400 cigarettes between takes, man. He was great.
He was so good, man.
He was
the whole time. I was like, "This has got to be like that voice sounds familiar."
Yeah,
like
totally.
I feel like I know this guy, and like I just like couldn't put it together.
There.
Like he should have been in like he was like the voice of some guy in like 1,000 animated things we've seen. You know what I mean? Like that's what the vibe I was getting. You know what I mean? Like yeah, he was great.
It's cool with those like big thick glasses and shit. Like
yeah. I'd love to know who did some of the voices in the the sort of mocap work for the robots, man, because some of that stuff was really excellent.
I take that bet. That dude's been in a ton of shit. Sorry.
I believe you. I just don't know where.
Ralph Ineson.
Oh, he has been in a ton of shit?
Yeah, I mean, just like the like known for, he was in Guardians of the Galaxy, The Green Knight, and The Witch.
Yeah, I still haven't seen The Green Knight. I really want to see that.
Wow.
He's done some voice work for video games, and he's been in a bunch of shit. But
profile pictures.
Chernobyl. That's where I know him from.
His headshot doesn't look anything like
no
he did in the movie, and it's If his headshot's like mine, it's
He was
probably
so
very
thoroughly
old.
like a War Games general dude with Broderick. Like he had just like that like 80s Cold War kind of general kind of vibe to him. I really, really dug him.
Mm-hmm.
It's fucking great. You mentioned the cinematography, Kev. Just a heads up. This is the same dude that did Dune, Greg Fraser. So he did this in between Dune 1 and 2 and then had to leave to go do Dune 2. So this other dude, Oren Soffer, took over. And I think the big part of why it looks so good is because those guys are clearly fucking super talented. Like Greg Fraser seems to be a real up-and-comer, man.
Yeah, seriously, man. I only had read that Oren Soffer had done it. I didn't know that about
Fraser.
Thank you, Fraser. So yeah, that's really not surprised that the movie's so gorgeous, you know. And
yeah. And you guys probably saw too that they decided to shoot it on. They didn't shoot it on green screen. They had a super small crew and they went to location. So it was like Indonesia and Nepal. So they shot on location and then ILM puts some of the shit in later. So I think that's a huge reason why it has such depth as opposed to like, you know, like a Rebel Moon or something. A lot of it was in camera.
that is very cool. I didn't get to read as much as I wanted to about this because, you know, the talk when this movie came out was that he had you know, basically made like a $300 million movie for 80 million. And everybody was like, wow, how does this movie look so good? You know what I mean? It's because he takes his time planning everything out. And, you know, not unlike, you know, similar elements to what we talked about in 1917, Chad, but, you know, he wouldn't, you know, do any of the VFX stuff until he had like everything lined out and framed up the way that he wanted to. So it was, you know, efficient and there was no waste of time, man. And, you know, some of the shots are just so great and sweeping. And like, I really like the way those futuristic cities looked, man. Like when you see like,
they were cool.
You know, the caravan, like taking, you know, them into the city once they've been captured, man. And like, it's just a couple of seconds, man. You know what I mean? But you get to see these just absolutely, I've just never seen structures like that. These massive, like, bridge-like structures almost, and then on the ends of them they've got clearly pads for, you know, vertical takeoff and landing vehicles of all types. And, you know, it's like they're bridges and buildings and like it's just crazy, man. I was like, wow, this is so cool. But it at the same time it seemed almost integrated into the landscape as well, which I loved.
Yeah it like a little bit like Halo vibes in terms of some of the architecture. But I think it's like because they shot practically in Nepal and Indonesia and Singapore, wherever they shot, then the ILM guys could stick a cool piece of digital architecture into the mix, and it was so much more cohesive, I think. And so it was kind of a cool thing.
Well said.
But yeah, that architecture stuff was cool, kind of Blade Runner-y too. Can we go back to Janny just because like when we were talking about sympathizing with the robots, like I think her character is a huge part of having some sympathy for the human side of things, like the fear and stuff, and like the fact that the robots tricked her son, whether that's true or not, whatever. And then she obviously takes it to the crazy, you know, she's also like kind of goes too far with it, you know. She just absolutely fucking killed it, man.
She did.
You said it.
You said it.
You said it.
The only thing I'll add to that really is that it had kind of like not a Terminator kind of feel to it, but like she was like relentless in her like, you know, pursuit of it. And it was really cool to see her in that role because usually you see a man in that role. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was really cool to see a woman play that kind of role. And I think it brought a lot of different nuance and sort of.
She was badass.
Yeah, depth to it too. That was cool.
Especially her too, because she's almost always like kind of like the sassy mom from Juno, or you know, whatever, or like the kind of like lush from I, Tonya, which is really good. The Tonya Harding movie, if you haven't seen it, like
I have.
She's always just kind of like a fucking washed out old sassy lady, and in this she was just like super strong, super directed and motivated, and really smart, you know, like, I don't know. There's just a lot going for her here.
I agree with everything you said. And I'll add that she's a total chameleon too, man. She can throw on like wig and wardrobe and just look completely different, which she has in so many things she's done. And she's also one of those actresses that she just got like that sharp edge as well, and you don't always see it, but it's there, man. And she's got some power and a little sharp edge there too. And it really brings a lot to her performances when it's needed, man.
She's funny.
And this is one of those movies. Yeah, she can be extremely funny too, totally. And I think this is one of those movies where that sharp edge comes into play. You know what I mean? And she does a great job of it.
Yeah, totally.
It's always great to see an actor do something that's a little like against what they're sort of known for and fucking knock it out of the park. And she did. Like, she was excellent. One of my favorite parts of the whole thing, really.
Even her final moment there too, man. Like when she realizes what's happening with the bomb on her back, but the cops next to her don't. Like, that's just like ah, shit. All right. She's like, wait.
That whole sequence was so fucked up, man. It was like, oh, here's your wife. We've been keeping her alive for 5 years,
and we can't kill her.
We can't kill her because we can't do that to a human or another simulant. And then it's like those three come in and they're like, we're gonna fuck you up if you don't give up. We're gonna kill the kid. Wait, we're gonna fuck you up if you don't give us the kid, so we can kill the kid. But you're here to kill your wife, and then oh wait, there's a grenade on your back, and now you're gonna die. Like, it's just it was just weird, man. There was a lot going on in that little like 3 minutes segment.
You just really killed your wife, and now we're here.
Sorry, yes, thank you. You're right. Thank you for the correction. No, that's exactly right, because he pulled it right away. He was like, boom, Yeah,
that was pretty intense emotional scene there. Man. Like, yeah. There were a couple like, sort of tearjerkers going on in this movie, and like they kind of nailed it. Like,
agreed.
Very, very good.
We were kind of casting. Is there any other casting that's worth doing here? Like you said, it's a lot of names.
Well, I mean, Ken Watanabe is just. I've been such a fan of this guy since Batman Begins, which is where I first saw him, and he's so good, dude. And he doesn't even know how to speak English, and he's just
was he the Ra's al Ghul kind of bait switch in that one?
Yeah, he was the Ra's al Ghul bait switch guy. Yep, exactly right.
The Last Samurai.
But dude, he was in Inception, Last Samurai. No, first thing I saw him in was Last Samurai. Sorry, and then it was Batman after that, and then Inception, obviously, and of course, Mortal Kombat.
Of course.
Oh, dude, it's such a crappy Asian trope joke, dude. Sorry. Anyway, yeah, he's just fantastic, man.
I'm gonna throw in just because it's in front of me, Tokyo Vice, which is like a HBO series. He plays like a detective. That's great.
I haven't seen that one.
He's really good.
It kind of rings a bell.
It's about an American who goes to Japan to become he's a journalist, but he wants to be a journalist in Japan.
Yeah, okay.
And it's sort of like, sort of gets like involved with like the underworld, and like he gets involved with this detective who's played by Ken Watanabe, and like sort of like just has his fingers and everything, and is trying to like sort of change like the softball reporting that was going on at the time or whatever. Like they
I have this in my yes.
Yeah, it's really good. So he's got a big role in that.
I didn't even realize he was in it. I have it in my queue because I was like, oh, it looks interesting.
Yeah, that's good. I watched the first season. I haven't seen the second one that came out fairly recently, so I'm looking forward to diving back into that.
Totally, man. I've always had a soft spot for Japanese focused, whether it's modern policey stuff, Rising Sun or Chocolate Rain we watched or whatever. Like I'm into that, and then also the samurai stuff.
Chocolate Rain.
It's like that was my favorite. Just how much Umba got mad that we were going on about Chocolate Rain 2 is just beautiful. But Watanabe in The Last Samurai. Like, Last Samurai is super, I don't know, cheese dicky American focused stuff, but I still really have a soft spot for it, man. And it turns out there's a lot of truth behind it. You know, that shout out to that Shogun show again, man. Like, there's some actual history behind a bunch of white bread being in that old school.
Is that
era.
good? I want to watch that.
Yeah, dude. We were talking about it
a
little bit for Monte Cristo, I think. But yeah, dude, it's like a fucking A. It's a solid A. Some of the like cinematic choices and stuff knock it off of an A+, but like it's fucking solid and really good. If you're down with samurai shit, which like by down with samurai shit means like it's super uptight and kind of slow at times, but like it's really fucking good.
Yeah. No. Well, I mean, I'm familiar with the story. I just haven't. I'm curious about this.
Gotten into it.
Iteration.
Benny, you might remember, dude, from when we were kids. Like, I didn't watch it when I was a kid, but I believe that was a book that was turned into a mini series when we were kids.
Yes, it is a book that was indeed turned into a mini series.
Right, I wasn't familiar with that at all.
That mini series in the 80s was enormously popular, dude. Like, I mean,
it was huge,
massive, dude.
I was completely unaware of that. So yeah.
Well, I'm glad to hear that this redo of it is equally popular, dude. And it also has
it's blowing up. It's super popular, which is great.
Yeah, a favorite Japanese actor of mine, Sanada, is in it, and he was also in Last Samurai and a bunch of other stuff we've done, like John Wick 4, and of course,
Sanada is so
actually was in Mortal Kombat.
There's like a leading lady in Shogun too, and like, god damn, she is incredible, man. Like, there's actually really awesome acting in that one. I very highly recommend it. It's good. Carl Aguilar turned me onto it. But yeah, dude, like Watanabe kind of is just, I don't know. I associate him with just like rock solid acting in the Japanese kind of sphere, as well as outside in Inception and stuff like that.
Yeah, a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
he's fucking great.
Yes, he's really, really great, man.
I didn't remember the guy, but Allison Janney's right hand dude, the beardy guy, was in Ozark. He was the dude that got electrocuted in Ozark. I didn't put that together.
What?
Mark Manchego cheese. Chana.
Menchaca, dude.
Russ Langmore. Great. He was great, man. I really liked him.
Holy shit, that's Russ Langmore?
That's what I'm saying, man. That's what I'm saying.
Oh my god! Wow.
Why did we all watch Ozark and not ever talk about it?
We did a little bit. I hated on it so hard that we never went there.
What? Why?
Yeah. Every time I'd say I didn't like it, you were like, "What?" This should be like a trope. This is my drinking game. Yeah, this is my drinking game. Anytime I say Ozark and Kev's like, "What?" I'm going to take a shot. The one sentence is like, it's a well put together show where the guy's like, "I hope nobody finds out I'm laundering money," and then like, "I'm laundering money." It's like a big secret until he tells everyone. You know, it's really silly.
Oh boy. All right.
It's one of those shows where like I really enjoyed it, and I feel like they stepped out at the right time. But like, you know, like I really enjoyed Dexter too. But it's just one of those shows where you're
same. Yeah.
The longer it goes on, the more you're like, okay, like, right, you know, how many more times can they like wriggle out of the trap? Like, how many more times can they get away with it? Right. You know, and
But the cool thing about Bateman, dude, is he's smart enough to know, like, all right, I want to make this show, and it's like, it's got a beginning, and it's got a beginning, and it's got an end, and that was it. You know what I mean? And that's how he rolls, dude. You know, he's a gangster like that. He's not going to Dexter that show. No fucking way, dude. You know?
It was like 3 seasons too long. The Lithgow season should have been the last season, man.
The Lithgow season was amazing, and when you got to like season 6 or whatever, it was just that, you know, you can just tell they're just like, all right, what are we gonna do now? It's just like, dude,
what are we gonna do to earn our sick paychecks now, everybody?
Yeah, were you not thinking about this 5 years ago? Like, what the fuck? You should have fucking had a plan to wrap this bitch and move on.
Yeah.
Now look at me, Joe Hollywood over here. What's that, Benny?
Being that we're podcasters who listen to podcasts, have you guys ever listened to Smartless?
To what?
No, I have a friend
Smartless.
that is constantly telling me to check it out, and Like, I don't know.
It's Jason Bateman and Sean
Yeah.
Hayes and Will Arnett, and it's really fucking funny, dude.
That's what I've heard.
If you're gonna check it out, listen to the episode with Matthew McConaughey.
Ooh,
It's fucking it's so funny, dude, because they tried to have him on like at some point in the past, and like Jason Bateman was having like technical difficulties with his. It was like when they first started doing it, and like they played clips from that attempt, and like Jason Bateman is having a fucking meltdown at his equipment. And fucking McConaughey's like laughing the entire time. They do this thing though where they don't tell, like one of them knows who the guest is and the other two don't.
Oh,
So like he was in the not know of who the guest was, and fucking McConaughey was laughing at him the entire time. He's like, "Who the fuck is laughing? What the fuck?"
oh my god! That is very
So they
Totally check
like,
that out.
you know, when they started the episode, they were like, they like covered that whole thing, and it was just fucking like one of the funniest things I've ever listened to.
That's awesome. I love that. I mean, I'm a huge Bateman fan, dude. Like, no, I mean, I'm shitting on Ozark, but like, I don't know. Like, it's fucking solid, man. Like, it was fun. It was interesting. I didn't watch all of it. I watched the first 2 seasons, I think, and got my fill. But I love Bateman, dude. So I'm fine with it. John David, man. I think John David. It's worth shouting out John David because of how many people shat all over his Tenet performance as flat, and seeing him do his. Well, it's just like the whole point of Tenet. His character in Tenet is to be somewhat flat, and so everyone's like, he sucks, and it's like, well, actually, no. And as you can tell from this movie, like, he doesn't fucking suck. He's actually solid ass. I really enjoyed him here, man. I think he did a good job.
Dude,
I mean, I hated Tenet, but I'm pretty sure I liked him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just people. I still, to this day, like, I think Tenet's one of the better Nolans, which, you know, fuck me, but I really liked it.
That's just like your opinion, man.
You're just like a fucking idiot, man.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to say Prestige, bro. Definitely is better than
Prestige is
Tenet, but
Ooh, that's up there. That's
Dude,
way up there for me.
is good. Like, it's weird as fuck. It was super experimental, like, but you know, whichever bit of it you liked or didn't like I agree with Ben. Like, he was great in it, and he was great in this. He's like his dad, dude. He's got that just
the chops.
He's got the chops, man. He's got that just depth of character, man, and you can see it. He brings it to every performance. I love it.
I like maybe this is a useful transition into bits and bobs. I like that scene where he got caught with his dick in his hands on the radio, being like, "I'm undercover." You know, he's like on the radio. He's like, "Yeah, guys, what the fuck?" And then his girl's behind him, just like, "Dude," he gets so busted, man. His face was just perfect there. He's like, "Oh no, it's just us. It's you and me, baby. Like, fuck these guys." Meanwhile, she's an armada. You know, like it's
Right.
just,
She's
there's a
like
lot
the-
going on there.
Good luck with that, buddy.
That was a
exactly.
great. There's some really concentrated bursts of real like intensity and a lot being conveyed, and that was one
Totally.
of those moments, man. Because he was
Yeah,
just
yeah.
like, no, they're just like they're just robots. Like, fuck them. It's just
They're not real.
programming.
This is
And
real.
He's like, no. That's my family. You know, like they raised me. They're my village. They're my people. They're my tribe. You know what I mean? Like, and
Well, meanwhile,
looking
she's
at-
actually an armada, and she created them with her dad or whatever. She's just like, "Nah, man, you don't get it."
well, not
I
only
like how
that,
she's
but,
like, "This isn't real with you and me." Like, he just immediately obliterated their relationship in her eyes.
Well,
you know?
and it kind of kicks off the whole thing of what is real and what is not real. Because,
Yeah.
like, I mean,
Yeah.
the other part too is that she's just found out by pure happenstance that the person that she loves, and again, you know, like I said before, like has this really deep, intense connection with, and they're having a child, like, is just not what she thought he was. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that.
And
sort
her
of
saying it's
betrayal
not real,
is
like, it's
hard.
true to the fact that it would immediately die. Like, her love would immediately basically die at that moment for him, you know, that betrayal. So it's, like,
I
it's
don't
super
know
deep.
about
It's a super
that.
deep chunk of the movie.
Definitely a life-changing event, though. That's for sure. Mm-hmm.
All right, so I'm going to throw in something that I wanted to throw in earlier, but got steamrolled
Please.
on by
Do it.
topic change. Chad was talking about the robot in the on IMDb. There's like a bank of 4 photos, and there's the robot holding
that
the
one.
AK-47. That
Yep.
robot looks almost identical to the supervisor droid from like Jabba's barge, where like
Oh, yeah.
like R2 like gives him shit, and
Totally,
he's like,
man.
You're a feisty one.
Yeah, dude.
that robot.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Oh,
love
the,
that. That's a good shout out.
He's
Yeah.
the good some new acquisitions guy.
Totally,
That's
bro.
what he says.
Exactly.
When they roll in. Good some new acquisitions.
You're
Now-
a feisty one.
I didn't quite get the use of the mandible kind of thing, but whatever. The like moving mouth on a giant robot alien head, but
Well, yeah, the same thing with the supervisor droid. Like, had like a little mouth flap that would like
Yeah.
go
It's
up
It's like
and
why
down.
why is
Don't
that
need that.
flapping?
does that have a little
It's
speaker?
unnecessary. 3PO doesn't have it. Nobody's bitching about that.
No,
Right.
exactly.
He's just got that little rectangular glory hole, dude.
Seems
But
like
wait,
a waste
wait.
of power
I'm having trouble figuring
for
out
something
which,
that runs on energy.
which robot in this looked like that robot.
Okay, so if you go to the IMDb page and look at, like, just scroll down to the photo section, there's the second one from the left.
That's like if that guy from the Jabba's the sail barge robot sort of concierge if he got pissed enough at insolent robots like R2, it was like, fuck this, strapped up with a bunch of bandoliers and a fucking pew pew weapon. That's him right there in that picture.
Yeah, totally,
Totally.
man.
I'm
And
going
he
to
just
kick
shared
some
an
ass.
image. He totally has the same kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, they're not identical, but very similar.
Nah, yeah, it's like Supervisor Droid meets Giger's Alien a little bit.
Meets like the fucking Yauta from
Oh yes, because
With the mandible, yeah, totally.
Yeah.
What's the Danny
I
Glover's
love
like, pussy
saying
face
Yauta.
or whatever?
Pussy face.
Yeah, I think at some point Danny Glover
Keep
called him
talking,
a
pussy face.
or something.
Danny Glover's here, ladies and
Fucking
gentlemen.
Danny Glover. I love me some. We need to do another Danny Glover movie, dude. I miss that man.
Oh, you know what I was thinking of that would be fun to do, and we've never done. We wait, what'd you just say?
Put it in your mouth.
Is that something that he says in a movie?
Yeah, and Lethal Weapon, like when Mel Gibson's trying to like puts the gun against his temple to kill him. He's like, "You want me to do it? I'll fucking do it." And he's like, "No, you put it in your mouth."
Oh, I thought you were mashing up Danny Glover and Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. Bro. Wow, that was a deep cut.
Put it in your mouth.
Holy shit.
What were you thinking about recently? Kev?
So
Riggs.
we've never done an Antoine Fuqua movie, and he's I think he's excellent, dude. He's been around for a while. He did Training Day and like all these great movies, man. And
Dude,
one of the
Shit
ones he
Pushed
did
In.
was yeah, shit pushed in, exactly. So another movie where a lot of people's shit gets pushed in is Shooter with Mark Wahlberg. It's a great kind
Oh,
of
yeah, I think
military
I've seen that one.
action mystery movie. It's great, dude. I own a copy of it. I love that movie. It's also got Michael
Is-
Pena in it as well.
Is Danny Glover in it?
Danny Glover's in it, and also Ned Beatty's in it, and Elias Koteas is in it, and all these great
Oh, Jesus.
people.
Wow.
Jesus.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, geez, we ought to watch that. But it's great. It's like it's a great action movie, but it's also like a good sort of espionage kind of mystery movie. There you go, Chad. Espionage.
I do like
Right
a good
up your alley.
espionage movie.
I know you do.
Cool.
It's got all of that, and a good amount of Danny Glover being an evil douchebag. You like that, Ben?
I don't like that, but I'm sure he's good.
He is great, and I don't
Uh,
like that he's evil either. But
Danny Glover is one of those people that, like, like Ed Harris when he plays a bad guy, it just rubs me the wrong way. You know?
yeah.
Like, he's
100%.
awesome at it, but I'm like, oh, man. Like, I take it as like a
I know.
moral failing of the actor, I'm like, dude,
Totally moral.
such a
failing.
good guy. Why are you doing this?
You're making me cry.
That's not you,
It's
Danny.
absolutely not the case, obviously, but
So good.
Danny, no.
Danny, no. All right, let's make it happen, dude.
Bits and bobs. What else?
Bits and
There's got
bobs.
to be some
What else we
bits and or.
I liked that the kid was developing the power to sort of interface with the technology and turn it on and off. I thought that was cool.
Like a clapper.
like
She's just a really expensive clapper.
Yeah, kind of. Like
Really-
I like that better than like learning at a super fast rate and then all of a sudden humans are irrelevant in 3 seconds. Like, you know what? That's so scary to everybody, dude. And I get that it's a potential reality. I mean, I've thought about it for the last, since 1984 or whatever, 1982. But like, I like that the way they portray her ability. You know what I mean? And that, everybody, all these douchebags are like general douchebag is like, that's the weapon. They keep referring to her as the weapon. It's just like, it's just a kid, man. You know what I mean? With an ability, but it's not like she's like trying to hurt people. She's a kid,
It was very much Akira, though,
Yeah, but Akira was like, they got the power and like immediately they were like, Kaneda! And then everything was just like blobs of weird shit. You know what I mean? They couldn't handle it. Like the kid, it felt like the ability was small and it was growing as she was growing. You know what I mean? And not in a way that she could not manage, And I think that was by design by Maya Nirmata. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The vault that they kept her into.
With the chair and the TV.
Yeah, the vault that they put her in to watch cartoons on that TV, like definitely reminded me of Akira.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Very, very much so. Yeah,
definitely.
a little bit. And like Final Fantasy as well, which would have lifted from Akira.
Sure.
Yeah, some interesting stuff there. I love Akira, dude. And the comic is great too. I kind of felt like the use of recognizable music got tired towards the end of the movie, but I really, really dug the Radiohead track 10 minutes in. Everything in its right place. That really fit for me there.
Is that when they were flying in on the ship before they...
Yeah.
There's a bunch more music later, but...
That's related to where I was going to go, but one of the things I wanted to ask about earlier was, did some of the like non-score music remind you guys a little bit of like Prospect? Like there was definitely some like kooky,
kind of that
like
weird Asian pop
rockin' like thing. Sort of Asian pop music. Yeah, like that was like just bizarre but really cool and sort of like retro futuristic sounding.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, totally, man. I got really into those random Prospect tracks. Like the Prospect soundtrack is an awesome get work done soundtrack, but like finding a Spotify or whatever list from people of the actual weird kind of whatever Thai pop tracks that really, really
very
dug
cool.
those, man. They were great.
Very nice. The sound design was great. Like all the sound.
Yeah, expand on that though. Like, what do you mean?
Just all the the way the guns sounded, the way the vehicle sounded. Like those like big chonkin like translator devices, like the voice for the translator device, like make love to yourself and make love to your mother.
I love that little bit with the farmer guy there too, or it's just like, don't worry, I'll kill the American, and then he's like, oh shit.
Yeah. I thought the sound design in this movie was tip top, man, and I liked the gun sounds and the vehicle sounds, sirens, everything. Just the whirring of the servo motors and the robots that you could hear if you were listening.
Yeah.
Like you couldn't always hear it, but like it was weird. It was like low enough that you could not pay attention to it, but if you did pay attention to it, it was definitely present. I like that.
Yeah, just like some of the robots, like when they were like bantering back and forth, like their voices, like there's a lot of cool stuff, sound design wise.
Yeah,
because I guess it stuck out to me because I was like trying to watch this at work initially, and like I utterly failed and got about 45 minutes into it, but like listening to it, I was like, this sounds fucking amazing.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, totally.
That's interesting.
Also like the sounds coming off of Nomad, all those like weird digital sounds that you would hear.
Bleeping and blooping.
Yeah, bleeping and blooping, exactly, dude.
It did sound really cool. It was very Blade Runner-esque, but like the scene with the ice cream scene, like it's like just before the ice cream gets delivered, there's like some giant police transport vehicles that come in like a Blade Runner spinner,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
the sounds of the big police cruisers was kind of similarly interesting too. Like you're right, like there was some unique choices there. They didn't just use the same kind of like bullshit pew pew laser sounds or the bullshit vehicle sounds.
Yeah, I mean, some of it reminded me of other stuff, but it was cool. Like it was a good selection of sounds.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
the only one that bothered me, although it was a super cool sound, like, but not seeing it but hearing it and then seeing it, the like drop ships that were like rocket powered or like jet powered, that like they dropped the crew off, but for some reason they sounded like helicopters, like, but had no propellers anywhere on them, or rotors or anything.
Yeah.
Like the like after
I know the vehicle you're talking about.
After Joshua agrees to like go and do the thing, like they get dropped off in this like sort of
the one that gets blown up with the backpack,
Exactly.
the mine on the girl's backpack.
Exactly.
Yeah. I secretly wish there was like a really, really loud bobcat sound for that bobcat.
Totally.
Just like did you guys pick up on the Reservoir Dogs back of the car? It was pretty obvious, but I really like that. They're like, I'm fucking dying, man. Tim Roth in the
totally.
back of the car.
No, I didn't, but yes.
Line was totally redone. Because he mentions in kind of the like I picked up on it watching it, and then the director was Gareth Edwards or whatever. He mentions Reservoir as one of his favorites. So I like that he got a chance just to call out to it because it's such a classic, iconic scene. What else? Yeah, I'm having a hard time coming up with other bits and bobs, but there's a lot. There's a lot in here.
There are. We definitely talked about a lot of it. What?
There was some like really on the nose dialogue and really intentionally funny scenes. Where there's this scene where they go through the border crossing, and the cops are shooting the shit out of the car. And
I was just
John
thinking
David
about
Washington's like, "Did anyone have any fun?" And the 2-year-old kid's like, "Me."
And he raises his
It
hand.
was so stupid,
It was so
but really
great.
kind of cute and funny.
It was great.
And same with the like, what can I get you, honey? And she's like, for robots to be free? It's like, we don't have that in the fridge. Like it's super cheese dick, but like it really hits for some reason, and I really liked it.
Well, also that she's a robot.
That's it, yeah.
Yeah, I like that too,
It was
man.
funny.
I liked when the Middle Eastern cat that I mentioned before, when he has his second death, his whole half of most of his head gets blown completely off.
Oh, it blown off big time.
It was great.
Yeah, that dude got it pretty good. And the fact that, like, speaking of that guy, the fact that his likeness was used over and over again because of that donation thing tied right into Maya, like John David Washington seeing Maya on the subway and being like, Maya! It's like some
Yes.
other random robot using the likeness. That was kind of interesting.
Yeah, that was an interesting, another interesting aspect of that. People selling their likenesses,
Could go on and on about it, but it's really worth a watch.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, I could. I kind of I said a lot of what I really, really dug already. Yeah, it is worth a watch.
Unlike Rebel Moon.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'll still watch the part 2 of Rebel Moon, but I'm going to hate watch it, I think. I'll try, but I'm not optimistic. I would totally watch another movie in this universe.
I would totally watch another movie in this universe as well. I think Rebel Moon, I'm curious to see what this director's cut is going to be like, because that's the real kind of
I can't do that. I really don't know if I could do the director's cut.
It ain't going to be no 4-hour.
It's bad enough that it was 2 hours long.
It's going to be
I
in
don't
black and white, and it's going to be in 4:3 format. Yeah, fuck him.
Oh,
It
stop.
could be upside down in black and white.
It's going to be in like 300 fucking sepia gold tone.
But you have to watch it in IMAX, Benny. Otherwise, you're not a movie buff.
Oh, my God.
Yes.
I'm going to, well, after listening to him in that interview, I'm curious now. I want to see what it's like, but.
Yeah, tell me about that a little bit. I know we don't need to go fully into the rabbit hole, but
I mean, it's without getting into like a whole thing. He's, it's different to sit there and listen to, a director or a creator or whatever talk about their project one-on-one with somebody. And, on Rogan, it's like, it's like he does like 3 hours, man. I mean, it's like, there's no hurry up and tell me about this. So, he just was like talking about the process of making the movie, man, and how, he was just really grateful that they had reached out to him and said, hey, is there anything you want to do? We'd love to have you come and work, and how great it was to work on the project. And he talked a bit about the director's cut thing and didn't really shed any more light on it in terms of like why they're doing that. I mean, I guess he said, wait. The short of it is he was basically like, wait for the R-rated version of it. You know what I mean? So if this was what we got was like the PG-13, he's like, wait till the R-rated version comes out. That's the one I really wanted. That's the movie I made. Not, like this other one that's cut down, like that's all well and good, He's like, but this R-rated. So I'm curious just based on that. Look, dude, I'm not like, golden sepia tone. I'm not like golden sepia tone hopeful, but I mean, this is also the guy that did Watchmen. So I'm like, okay. And yeah, I'll definitely check it out. And I did like
kudos for him trying. Fuck. I mean,
well,
whatever.
I mean, whatever. I think Man of Steel is an excellent, amazing movie. I love Man of Steel. I've seen it so many times, and I like Batman versus Superman as well. So whatever.
Yeah. He's made more movies than I have. That's for fucking sure.
Do we have any more bits and bobs?
I think I'm good, man.
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah.
All right. We don't have any deaths. I'm willing to forego nuggets.
Yeah, the Reservoir Dogs throwback is kind of the only thing that I thought was kind of a nugget, which I already said. The rest of it, who gives a shit?
Yes.
Oh, there was one, like, it's not really a nugget, but I didn't say it before, Kevin. You'd find it interesting, which is they shot this thing on, like, a $1,000 Sony camera.
I literally
like a prosumer camera, which I just thought was interesting.
just opened Let's Make Nuggets Not Fun, and that was the first one staring me in the face.
Oh, really? There was a couple of cool YouTube videos. There was an interview with the Oren Soffer where he talks about it. Where it's just, it was interesting.
Sony FX3, an entry-level full-frame cinema camera. That is a cool nugget.
Which is just like fucking, that's ballsy, to shoot the whole thing on it, but it did what it needed to do.
I think it's fantastic, dude.
But I don't think there were any deaths, were there?
There were no deaths, buddy.
No. It's getting lonely in the death section.
Well, lately it is.
There's none.
It's a little tumbleweed in there, man. It's all right. We'll fill it. You know what? You never know.
It's fine.
It's fine. Somebody's gonna die eventually. It'll be fine. It'll fill back up again.
It's fine.
You can't. You can't have that every time. Sometimes it's got to be no deaths, right? I mean, just statistically, like it's just got to pan out that way occasionally.
Well, I agree with you, Ben. But while you were on your little hiatus a couple of weeks there, I was getting on chat about making up fabricated deaths.
Yeah,
Because he kept being like, oh well, I kind of sort of said something was delightful. That's a death, right? I was like, yeah. And so I finally put my foot down and was like, yeah, no, we're all set with that.
Whatever, man.
No more fabricated fake bullshit deaths, man. They either happen or they
John
don't.
fabricated.
Yep.
Oh, Fabro.
Fabricated. All right, so let's do. Would you recommend this movie, Chad?
I would recommend anyone who likes sci-fi should watch this movie just because it's a very solid attempt at sci-fi and it's interesting enough for all of the reasons we talked about.
Yep, Benoit. Absolutely.
Yay, Dad.
Hey, Red Sly standing by, and I know Red Sly likes to keep it short and sweet, so I'll say that you should definitely watch this movie. Like I read, not a lot of standalone independent films being made like this these days. We've got
That's it.
The greed machine has caught up to Hollywood in like the worst way. So everybody's like after the next $1 billion franchise. So I think this movie's kind of special. And like Betty said, even if some of these themes we've seen before. I think Edwards has sort of crafted it into his own story and his own film, and it's absolutely gorgeously shot. The sound design is excellent, the music is excellent, and the acting performances are excellent. And also, I'm always one to gripe about dialogue. The dialogue's great too. This is a well written story, and the themes are great. And like Chad said, in the classic sense of sci-fi, this is science fiction, man. It's, taking the mirror and pointing it at humanity and making us think. And I love that, man. I think that's the essence of really great science fiction. So absolutely go out and watch this movie.
To throw in an 11's recommendation thing, like, I definitely will say, like, I don't want to hype it too much. I think if you get too hyped, you might be disappointed with the whole, like, people over-recommending something.
Not
but,
Pearl
like,
Jam, bro.
if you take it as it is, it's pretty good. It's just like, it's a solid flick. Super solid. Don't go in too hyped for it, and I think you'll enjoy it. It's kind of maybe my 11's.
Goldilocks zone.
Yeah, again, I kind of opened with the trailer kind of turned me off, and it ended up being like really good, like way better than I had anticipated. So there.
If you go in with low expectations, you'll be satisfied.
All right, already.
There's nothing worse than getting hyped up, like getting overly hyped for something, though, and then you're like, I wasn't that good.
I get it.
It sucks when that happens.
I get it.
So.
We've done 250 shows. We've literally never said that ever. And now all of a sudden we're like, hey, you know what, guys?
Best movie ever.
We're like, you want to be the needy aunt? It's like looking for $5 or whatever. We're not that totally. Podcast. All right. So, C-Lab, what are we doing next week?
Ooh. You want to do a fuck one movie?
Yeah, let's do Shooter, man.
Let's do Shooter. Fuck it. Let's do it.
It's a good action movie.
Dude. Let's go bowling.
It's got Mark Wahlberg. Hey, dog, what's going on?
Hey, say hello to your mother for me.
Say hello to your mother for me. Let's do it.
Fucking Marky Mark. Oh, dude, my dad was visiting, and I don't think he'd seen it, but he picked the new Mark Wahlberg movie where he's like a secret agent and goes to Vegas with his family. Like, my fucking God, was that the worst goddamn shit I've ever seen in my life.
What movie is that? We'll find out after this break.
The Family Plan? Is it The Family Plan? Yeah, The Family Plan. That's it. It's just The Family Plan. Don't watch The Family Plan. It fucking sucks a bag of dicks.
There you have it, folks. Bag of dicks. Thanks for joining us for The Creator.
Mark Wahlberg has turned into a fucking B actor.
We will
who fucking sucks.
We'll see you next week.
But he's good in Shooter. Let's watch it.
We'll see you for next week for Shooter, which does not suck a bag of dicks. And that's it. Say goodbye.
Hey, say hello to your mother.
Toodles.
For that.
Bye.
And that's going to wrap up this week's episode. Folks, if you would like to support the show, there's a number of great ways you can do that. You can support us directly on Patreon if you like. You can also rate us and review us. That's certainly helpful. And telling people to check out the show is helpful as well. I'd like to thank everybody that has supported us these many years. We really, really appreciate it. It's definitely brightened up our day and those dark times. So thank you. I'm trying to be serious, and I should just...
I don't know where the fuck you pulled that from, but okay.
It's true, man. So at any rate, thank you. And if you'd like to check out the show notes for this episode, you can do so in your podcast app of choice or on our website, ebd.fm/episodes/254. And that's it. If you want to join us on social, we're on Instagram. Other than that, thanks for joining us for The Creator. We'll see you next week for Shooter, which does not suck a bag of dicks.
Starring Shooter McGavin.
Starring Shooter McGavin. I just watched that last night. So long for now, folks. Bye.
One for C-Lab, two for Troy Eagle, three for Valverdean to round out the trio. In this episode, everybody dies.
Beady, beady, beady. Stop into it.